Hello, and welcome to another episode of Eat In with Adam and John, me being Adam. And today, I decided that, we just have to do another dessert. I mean, it's just been so long, like a week or two since I've made a dessert. And I just, it's just one of those things you have to have. I mean, I realize that our country has a weight problem and all that, but, just jog like 10 miles a day and you can have what I'm going to make today every day. And it's going to be some brownies made from scratch. Alright, well, the first thing I'm going to do is preheat the oven to 350. Set it on bake, because that's what you need to do. And then the second thing, I'm going to start chopping the pecans, because there's nuts in this. You don't have to have nuts, it's not required. And you could use walnuts or probably any kind of nut you want instead. But I like pecans. And we're going to need about a cup of them. And I got the ones that are in the halves because that's just what I got. If you get ones that are pre-chopped, that would be fine because you want big chunks of nuts in your brownies so people can notice them and go, ooh, nuts. So, as always, when you're cutting, cut away from yourself. I'm using a cutting board here. It's amazing how many times I've had to learn to cut away from myself. You'd think, one time gashing my hand and making it bleed would be enough to teach me to cut away from myself all the time, but no, I had to do it a couple times. Maybe 3 times. Maybe it was 4. But I finally learned, and that's the important thing. Alright, so I got my nuts chopped up. Again, you could buy them pre-chopped, because again, this can be pretty coarse. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the chocolate ready. So for this recipe, you probably could use a double boiler pan to melt the chocolate. However, they suggest that since, it's the 21st century, you might as well use a microwave. Use some of that 20th century technology to help speed the process up. So you put 4 of these cubes of chocolate in. And this is unsweetened chocolate for baking. And then you add 3/4 a cup of butter. Or in our case, I'm using Smart Balance because, well, in theory it's healthier for you, but it's fat, so it really isn't. Probably this would taste better with real butter. That would be my guess because, butter has its own unique flavor. But once you add the sugar and the chocolate, I don't think it really matters that much. I'm sure there's some chocolatiers out there just shaking their head and going, no, you've ruined it. Now I'm going to put this in the microwave, like I said before, for about 2 minutes or until the buttery stuff is melted. Be careful because the bowl's a little hot. And I'm going to need to mix in the chocolate with the butter to get the chocolate to melt nicely. It turns out these cubes of chocolate are like 1 ounce each. So it's 4 ounces of chocolate with the 3/4 cups of butter. And the next thing we're going to need to add is the most important ingredient. Can anyone guess? Anyone guess? Sugar! Sugar! That's right. We've got 2 cups of sugar. This is the thing that makes it so good is the sugar. So next is 3 eggs. This will add a lot of protein to this. In theory, making it taste, or I don't know, stick together more. I don't know. I don't know. I'll just say I don't know. All right. After that is a teaspoon of vanilla. The vanilla, I think, is to add a little contrast. All right. So vanilla is a cup of flour. So I'm going to pretend my brownies are a little healthy, and I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour and 1/2 cup of regular flour. Now, you don't have to do that. You could use all regular flour. You could even use all whole wheat flour. I'm just going 1/2 and 1/2. I probably could have used a slightly bigger bowl to make this easier to stir, but this is like the size of my glass bowl, and I thought a glass bowl would be nicer because you could see what I'm doing a little better. Not a lot better. What I could really use is like an overhead camera. Now, one thing that makes brownies different from other baked goods is that you'll notice I have not put anything to help the brownies rise. I didn't put in any baking powder, didn't put any baking soda in. It might rise a little bit just from the heat and the steam as some of the water evaporates, but brownies are meant to be dense. They're not supposed to be fluffy or light or whatever, like cookies maybe, or cake or something. Which I guess means you could get a good idea of what size pan you want to use based on how thick you want your brownies to be. So you could use like a smaller pan if you want thick brownies. It probably means you have to cook them longer, but it would, you know, be something you could try. Or if you wanted thinner brownies, because sometimes people like sometimes the best part of the brownie is like a corner piece where the edge is almost burnt. I don't know. I always like those. So you might make like thinner brownies so that you cook for a shorter time but are crispier. So obviously now I added the 1 cup of chopped nuts. So what they recommend on the recipe is to put aluminum foil in your pan and grease the aluminum foil. And I think maybe that's to help you get the brownies out of your pan if you wanted them, you know, on a tray or something, all nice and cut up and all pretty so people can see them stacked or whatever. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to eat them out of the pan. So I will grease the pan though, because, you know, I don't want them to stick horribly to the pan itself. Ugh, running out of spray oil. Now I get to add the yummy batter to the pan. Anyway, we need to bake this for 30 minutes. 30 minutes, remove from pan, cut into squares, and enjoy. And it's time to take the brownies out. They look real good. And you'll notice there's a couple holes in here. I actually took them out earlier. So what you should do after you get your brownies out is take a toothpick and stab with that, and if it comes out mostly clean, then they're done. But if it's like got a lot of batter on it, then that means you're not done yet. So these actually ended up cooking for me for about 40 minutes. Ovens cook at slightly different temperatures, etc., etc. So that's something you need to keep an eye on. And I'm gonna let these cool and then cut them into little pieces and eat them. Sounds good. Anyway, thank you for watching this episode of Eat In with Adam and John, and I hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Thanks.